Welcome to the Media Navigators podcast, brought to you by the World Media Group. My name is Belinda Barker and I'm the Chief Executive. Today we're going to be talking to Ally Owen from the Brixton Finishing School, or perhaps more accurately, Hoxton United. And we're going to be talking about the work that they do and the importance of improving diversity within our industry sector. Now, we've had a number of podcasts in the past that have touched on this issue, but I feel that we have primarily focused on the inclusion of women within our sector. And today we're going to talk really more broadly about all the different underrepresented groups that we currently have within the advertising and marketing sectors. So I'd like to welcome Ally Owen. Are you well today, Ally?
I'm very good, thanks, Belinda. Thanks so much for having me.
So back in 2016, Ally launched Hoxton United. Now, I've had a quick look at the LinkedIn bio, which everybody looks at. So I'm not going to rattle through that because everyone can look that up themselves. But you started your life more on the media sales side, Centaur, Guardian, going through Unruly. I mean, you've done so many fascinating things. I saw the How the Lights Gets In festival, which sounded fascinating, but we're not going to talk about that today. Really want to talk more about, what happened to you that made you make this kind of life-changing experience in 2017 when you first started Hoxton United.
Yeah. So thanks so much, Belinda. So just to give you a bit of clarity, Hoxton United I set up initially to help fund my dream of setting up a project that initially became Hoxton Finishing School, then morphed into Brixton Finishing School. It was initially to fund me while I was able to kind of build out this reblending of our talent pipeline that I dreamt of. My background at the time when I joined the industry, I didn't realise how different I was. Bear in mind, I'm a white, straight woman, so I'm not that different. I'm pretty average. But in the advertising world, it turned out that being from somebody not from a public school background, not being posh, or just, I live on a council estate, I'm a single parent, those things actually made me very unusual. And certainly throughout my career, I didn't really see a lot of people like me, and I experienced elements of classism. Very British classism. I realise this is a world podcast. So, I am not of the middle or upper classes. And, that was pointed out to me a lot of times or inferred. So when I kind of had done about 26 years in the industry, I kind of just had enough. And I was working at a big media house, and they employed a right-wing commentator, a lady called Katie Hopkins.
Oh, no, you're joking.
I know, yeah. And this was my moment of clarity. So imagine Katie Hopkins and me, if you mac an alkaline and acid, yeah? Very different people. So Katie Hopkins, she's been taken off Twitter for saying very unpleasant things about people. She's very public school. There's a lot of stuff there. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with having any of these traits. There is something wrong with being not very nice on Twitter. But for me, I just had a moment of clarity. I was raising a lot of money. I was running a big revenue line into a newspaper group I was working at. And I just thought, do you know what? I'm helping pay her salary. We all know, those of you that are listening, and our commercial roles, we are kind of the financial engine, especially of media owners. And I just couldn't sit well with the idea that I was essentially funding somebody who would not support me or the communities I cared about.
I have to say, just quickly, I'm very, very, very delighted that I work for the World Media Group, whose members, the journalism of of those brands, it makes my heart sing with, you know, their honesty and trustworthiness. Not all media brands are
I'm not suggesting that at all. I'm saying,
I know you're not.
Yeah, I've worked for lots of different media brands, but in this case, I couldn't reconcile my sense of purpose with their sense of profit. So I decided to step off the merry-go-round and fix a system that I felt unfairly favoured people who had a certain set of characteristics. And those characteristics were around race and class and neurotypicality. So, for example, people who weren't, say, on a spectrum So
how were you able to fund that? You know, we all need to pay our mortgages at the end of the day, and everyone agrees that these things need focus. But I mean, that's a massive leap.
Ambitious, really blending. So for me, I think one of the things I have is I am bloody-minded, I think. Stubborn is probably a nicer word. So initially, I funded it by working full-time on Hoxton United, and I set up my own digital marketing agency and doing this in my part-time. And then I actually went round and pitched to people with a logo, which I hate to say, I designed myself on Canva, and a story. And amazingly, and my story was, we're going to do a project that finds young talent, transforms that talent, and you're going to help me transform it by helping me teach them, Mr. Employer or Mrs. Employer. And then we're going to place that talent back at your kind of office. That was essentially the model. Find talent, we all help train it, those that are in the collective, and then we benefit from the kind of seeds we planted. And the first people to sign were McCann London, then Clear Channel, then Visium, then Pretty Green. So we had like a small and Brand Advance came in. So there was a kind of early collective of people that got on board and really took a risk. But in my first year, I only raised, I think it was about £25,000, but we still went ahead with the project. And I was very lucky that people came out the woodwork to offer services in kind. So Mark Lewis, who's the Dean of the School of Communication Arts, said to me, change your name from Hoxton Finishing School to Brixton Finishing School. And I was like, why? He went, well, I'm based in Brixton and you can have the space in my school for free over the summer. Now, going back to the stubbornness, I was like, I don't want to change the name. And then I looked at the rents and spaces in London and I was like, I will change the name. And it was only 3 different letters different, Hoxton to Brixton. So Lust the name was born. Lust the name was born. And then out of that, we got space. We got lots of people coming on board as mentors. I hired a small teaching staff with the money. I kind of worked for free, and that's how we got through the first year.
And were there any personal emotional supports that you had? Who was keeping you up there and buoyant despite the lack of money?
I was lucky that my friends, there were things I found really hard. Like initially I found things like accounting really hard. So they'd actually come and sit with me. They'd come and say, I'll come and sit next to you today, Ally. And they'd come into my little office and sit next to me just to get me through some of the hard bits. That was amazing. And then actually, I hate to say it, I remortgaged Belinda twice. Oh my God. Only small remortgages, because it's amazing how people won't lend you money when you don't have any money. When I had my big glamorous jobs, people were throwing, low percentage loans at me. The minute I decided to step off the track, it became challenging. But at the same time, having no money is not a situation I'm not used to. So I think that really helped, coming from a background that wasn't used to having money, was used to working really hard. And I was just very single-minded. I just had to sacrifice. I optimized everything I did. So I couldn't allow myself to have doubt. So we just didn't have doubt, But I would say I probably burnt myself out in those first 2 years. But the first year was a great success. We got 23, I think it was, young people through the course. We had like pro bono media donations from people like Clear Channel and Brand Advance, and, Brave shot a campaign for us. And we managed to recruit some amazing talent into the course, educate them in digital, media and marketing, the ecosystem, professional skills, give them all mentors. And then we got a really high employment rate. I think the first year out of those looking for work, it was a 95% employment, which meant next year we won Britain's Best Inclusion Project. Oh. So, yeah, and that meant more funding came. So I think then COVID hit, we lost funding again. And I actually did 3 months on universal credit last year. Never again. I would not recommend it to anybody. But again, that kept the project going. And then we had some really big investors sign, big by my standards, probably not by media group standards, sign. And we did a crowdfunder as well. And while I was on universal credit, looking at the crowdfund, it kept me going because people were putting in £5, £10, but it was like votes for us. That's how I looked at it. And it's very hard to have a bad day, even if you're a bit broke, when you know you've got so many people in your corner. I think that's really important. And the process works.
Wow. I am so utterly impressed with you as a person. I would never have the cojones to do that. But let's take a quick step back for our audience. Could you tell us a little bit about, so you've got 3 ongoing projects, Brixton Finishing School, the Ad Academy, and Visible Start. Can you just give us, a one-line description of each of those?
Yeah, so Brixton Finishing School happens every summer. People from around London compete for a place through task-based assessments, and it's 10 weeks. It's taught by the best in the industry. And then at the end, those talents are matched with our partners. And then once our partners are matched, we open up that talent pool to the industry. So that's the kind of gold, that's the original product. Then due to COVID, we launched the Academy, which is a nationwide version of Brixton, which is virtual, learn at your own pace, lots of live Q&As, all done via the magic of Zoom, and also learning on your phone through videos. You will get mentors, and that's to overcome location poverty. And also, if you're in, say, a working poverty job, which a lot of people are, then you can learn around that job and break in that way. Then Visible Start is a project we've done with WPP and the Uninvisibility Project, which is training women, midlife women, to go into paid media roles, so paid media entry-level roles. 1 in 2 women over 50 in this country retire with no pension, which is an absolute disaster for them. And also, I think, a disservice as well, massively. So it's all about creating first careers for some, second for others. And last week, we launched Adventure, our 4th product, which is aimed at reaching 100,000 state school 14 to 18-year-olds with key messages around the fact this industry is attainable, it's a profession, especially if you're from a multicultural background, like your family will be going, doctor, lawyer, accountant. And we obviously want to say, we're here too, come to us, you're amazing, which we're not kind of doing enough now. And obviously there's just loads of people, like 1 in 4 graduates in a recent survey by the IPA and Debut said, there's no money in advertising. The visibility outside sort of elite circles of us as a destination is shocking. So we're trying to really rewire that system at all levels and across multiple groups. So we become a destination for all, which means we can have the best talent, which we're not in a position to have at the moment because most talents aren't aware we exist.
Well, I personally was lucky enough we did a kind of masterclass with this year's Brixton Finishing School cohort around our awards, and we got them all judging the Social Good Award for our the World Media Awards this year. And I can't it was just the most amazing experience. My God, what a super, super bright young group of individuals, fantastic ideas. And what was really interesting was separately, we got the normal judging panel to judge the category, and they actually came up with exactly the same. So these kids who were, it was their first week of the Brixton Finishing School, were already, so smart and absolutely spot on. It was brilliant. So if anyone out there is listening and they're looking for new talent, I think it's too late for everyone who attended this year. They've all been hired by other companies, but look out for next year. It's
and also people can partner with the academy. The academy is all year round. So that's a good top tip as well. So I just think, if you're wanting to diversify your sources of talent, then we're definitely a good destination for you. And if we don't have enough talent in our pools, we can suggest other people, but we're constantly building out our pipeline to try and engage more and more communities with the fact this is for them.
So that was my next question, was what do you think the biggest barriers are to more diverse groups wanting to enter this industry, and how are you connecting with them in a way that others aren't? What can we do better?
Yeah, I mean, we've got a huge legacy challenge. I know you sort of mentioned gender at the beginning. We've obviously done a lot to change that, but the legacy around social class and race, we're a very, very white industry. There is nothing wrong with being white. I am white. We just need more balance.
Yeah.
And because we've not traditionally connected with those groups, there's less trust. Parents don't see us as a destination. There's less role models. There's just less numbers. So I think in the way that gender now at the lower tiers, your entry-level tiers, is more well represented, we're probably about 15 years off that in the entry-level tiers in terms of class and race. And obviously there's still a huge amount of work to do structurally within companies to make them fit destinations, because a lot of these young people, or even older people, or even just people, are going to be pioneers in these spaces from their backgrounds. We do an annual survey of our talents, and it's definitely race and class come out again as things that young people in our surveys, we only survey 18 to 25s, say will be a problem. It's things like free internships, not being able to take them. Work experience, we all know that may go to the boss's mate's son. Actually, you need a much more healthy architecture of inclusion around that. And if you can't, sometimes when you get a CV, it's like doing blind CVs. But it's also things like if you're looking for, look, they've done work experience, that may actually just be an indication of their privilege rather than an indication of their passion or enthusiasm for the subject. And I think for me, the big change is trying to do this adventure product where we're going, further back into the source, if that makes sense, back downstream. And we're trying to say much earlier on in these encounters we're creating between industry experts and schools. In fact, anybody who wants to sign up to go into a school or sign a school up, please let me know. We're trying to sow that seed so we can reap that crop much earlier. And then finally, I think for me, parents of talent, most parents say if you're of Black African descent, we'll be looking for you to be a doctor or a dentist. How do we explain that this is just as worthwhile when we don't have the numbers? It's really hard to see Black CEOs. I know there are some, but there's not enough.
Yeah.
It's just, and certainly when you look at retention in the industry, the Advertising Association did a survey, and I think it was 27% of Black talent in the industry was thinking of leaving, and 22% of Asian heritage talent. So there is a lot of things to fix before we are fit, a healthy place. I always say it's like you're a fish tank and you put the wrong water in. No wonder the fish are dying off type thing. You've got to make sure you've created the right environment for everybody to thrive.
You've come a long way in the 4 years since you set up. If you could talk to yourself 4 years ago, is there anything that you've learned along the way about setting up something like this?
Honestly, I look back and it does feel a bit dreamlike at points. And also just so many hours worked.
Yeah.
I mean, look back, I don't think any sane person would have attempted to do something of that scale, but I think that was the blessing. Sometimes you do need to not have thought things through and just go for things. I was definitely more of a let's just do it rather than let's think about all the parameters and permutations of this. Sometimes it's better just to punch through than it is to wait and plan. But I do think less burnout would have been good. But I'm really, I can't be in a more privileged place now when you look at the partners and supporters we've got. And also the fact that young talent views us as a destination. For me, that's it. There's no bigger accolade than having a young person get a role through us and through the training all our industry supporters have kind of funded and done. That's the system working. It's finally working in a way that is for everybody.
Do you do anything? I'm just thinking about some of the smaller businesses within our industry, kind of the small 10-person shops who might be wanting to be more diverse, but they don't have full-time HR. I mean, everyone's trying to do their own day job. What do you give people advice who are in those kind of circumstances? I mean, how can they improve themselves?
We've actually got a really good checklist, which was done in conjunction with an alliance we formed, cunningly called the Alliance. So a group of social impact projects, of which we're one, came together and were all, it's Create Not Hate, Commercial Break, XYZ, Agent Academy Liverpool and Liberty, etc. All came together, and Brixton Finishing School funded some workshops for young people from across those groups to come up with a checklist to help companies of all sizes better understand how to attract. There's 5 points on attraction, and also how to retain diverse talent. So I think that's a really good starting point. We can certainly share that with you.
Is that available on your website?
Our website is being updated, as all good websites are, Belinda.
Yes.
However, you can download that, I think, from our Instagram, and also I can send you a copy to send round. I'll have to check in on exactly where it is. But I think
it would be amazing if you could, because we will certainly post it on our website, which we just relaunched last month.
Hooray! Well, there you go.
So we will start promoting that for you happily.
That would be brilliant. So that's good. And also there's lots and lots of resources that the industry has. So, for example, especially with regard to Black talent, BRIM is a great resource, which is Black representation in marketing. There's, Creative Equals. There's lots of organisations out there that actually have free resources online. Certainly from our point of view, if you want to diverse your talent pipelines, you can talk about an academy partnership with us. That's kind of our lowest entry level tier for kind of permanent partnership for a year. But we also do £500 talent pool openings up, where basically we'll do a mini campaign for you if you had an entry-level role.
Okay.
Yeah, and you can get involved in mentorship. Our mentorship's open to everybody, and you can get involved in adventure. That's open to everybody. And that's a great way to start spending time with people from different backgrounds. And I think for me, just actually spending quality time with communities that aren't your own is a brilliant way to sort of short-circuit understanding and empathy, and actually start thinking about what structural changes. All of us have to be in a process of structural change, because the legacy structures we've got are so damaged. They were built at a time when we were it's an all-white, all-male system. They're 100 years old. And what's really great is everybody can take a part in dismantling that and making it a much more, healthy and nourishing kind of structure, so all talents thrive.
So having said that you want life to be a bit calmer, I mean, you've launched Brixton Finishing School, Academy, Visible Start, Adventure and Alliance. When we were chatting just before this recording, you were talking about going global. So you want to share a little bit about that? This in your new calmer, quieter life?
Yeah, it's really weird, isn't it? I keep going, I'd like a quiet life. And I keep knowing I probably wouldn't be happy with it. Yeah, so I suppose the vision for Brixton has always been, it's a change-making machine. And it works because it unites both talent and industry and supporters into part of that change, which means, there's a really good point for us to go globally and really work in partnership and being led by, the talent and people in situ in different countries. So this isn't us. We've got a system that works. Obviously, that system needs to adapt to each country we visit because they've got to lead the change. But ideally, we'd love to go to the States first and work with some interesting parties out there, if anybody's listening. And then I suppose from a kind of quite sad point of view, we are relevant wherever there's employment inequity. And let's face it, there is employment inequity everywhere. So, the world is diverse. That's a fact. But inclusion, is something we have to all work at every day. So, some really big ambitions.
Well, I sincerely hope the members of the World Media Group all being global journalism brands, I sincerely hope that we will be able to help you in your global plans.
That'd be lovely.
And we'll continue to work with you here in the UK. And I think all of us need to look at our own, how we can support you in your endeavours, but our own employment practices. And I definitely would love it if you could send me the 5 things we should be
definitely,
because that will certainly be of great help to me. Thank you.
No worries.
Ally, I really just want to say thank you so much for spending this time with us this morning, and I hope that we can talk to you again in a year's time and talk about...
I'd love that. I'd love to be sat in the States.
Yes, yes, absolutely. And we'll do it from New York.
Yeah, let's do it. New York, Washington, anywhere, Detroit, any of the big kind of media centres. Oh, well, hopefully this time next year would have made even more change. And who knows, maybe I'll be sat here with, a couple of my talents who've been placed in jobs in America.
That is brilliant.
That would be
Thank
great.
you so much, Ally. It was
thank you.
Great fun. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Yes, bye.
The World Media Group is an alliance of the world's leading international media organisations that connects brands with highly engaged, influential audiences in the context of trusted and renowned journalism. For further information, please go to our website, world-media-group.com. Thank you.